This is the Blix Aveny Skyline e-bike. I've been riding the bike around for a while now, and I'm going to share with you all what I like about this bike and the few things that I don't. The most obvious attraction of this bike is the way it looks. Unlike a lot of e-bikes that look pretty dorky, this is a really pretty bike. It's a Dutch style design. It comes in really pretty feminine colors, and it just is a little bit more attractive for riding around town than a lot of the e-bikes you're gonna see. In terms of the electric system, this is a class 2 e-bike, which means it has a limit of 20 miles an hour. I was able to get it up to 20 miles an hour, no problem. And it also means that it's able to have a throttle, which doesn't require any pedaling. So I really like that. When I have groceries or gear loaded on my bike, if I'm starting from a stop or starting on a hill, I can hit that throttle and get going without having to pedal, and that helps out a lot. The throttle is a thumb push throttle rather than like a hand twist throttle, and I didn't like that quite as much. I also don't like that it seems kind of like flimsy plastic that could break pretty easily. Haven't broken it yet, but haven't been riding it enough miles either. I think that would be a concern over the long run. For around town riding, it works great because you have the ability to mount a rack or a basket on the front as well as on the rear. The bike comes with the rear rack, and you can use it for panniers. You can put a basket on it. You could also put a bike seat on it if you have a younger child. It does have a maximum weight limit of 50 pounds, so you couldn't put a bigger kid on there, but you could put a little kid on. These are the baskets that are sold as accessories by Blix, and they worked pretty well. The rear basket only comes in black, so I didn't love the fact that you can't accessorize it and match it to your bike. And I also had a little bit of trouble getting the holes on the basket to line up with the rack. It wasn't designed or machined perfectly. The basket here is also kind of low in depth, so it just depends on what you plan on carrying on the basket, if it's going to work well for you or not. I personally would prefer just to put like something like a milk crate on the back that has more depth and would be easier to carry groceries in. The front basket I liked more because I tend to put shallower stuff in there, like my cell phone or my wallet. And it also has a cup holder, which I thought was really great because you can put your coffee cup in there. I put a wine cup, like a stainless steel wine cup in there, and was able to bike around, and that's a nice feature to have. The front basket does come in colors to match the frame, but you'll notice that this is new cream and this is new cream, but they don't perfectly match. So that was a little bit of a nit that I had. There is a nice large display that's center mounted here. It has the battery life, the speed. There are 5 power levels, and it shows you which power level you're using, and then it also has an odometer. In terms of the power levels, 1 is the least amount of assistance, 5 is the most amount of assistance, and I found that I rode around on a 3 most of the time to conserve life, and I could still get up to 20 miles an hour on the 3 biking around on flat roads. If I was going up the steep hill to my house, I'd put it in 5, and I would need those full 5 power levels to get up that hill. The battery itself is externally mounted rather than internal, but it's back behind the frame here, and I think that makes it look a little bit sleeker than a lot of the e-bikes you'll see with the external battery. And then it has a hub drive motor. It's a 500 watt motor. This is less than some of the competition that's around the same price. The Rad Power Rad City is the same price as the Blix Aveny, and it has a 750 watt motor rather than the 500 watt motor. So most of the time I didn't notice the difference. There were times where I was on a hill or I was like trying to keep up with my husband on a higher powered e-bike, and I could tell that there was less torque and less power on this bike as opposed to a higher wattage bike. Compared to a cheaper e-bike, this one does mostly have brand name components, which is nice. That means that they're going to be durable, you know that they're going to roll well for quite a while. It has a Shimano drivetrain, has a grip shift here up front that's intuitive and easy to operate. It has a 7-speed derailleur. The one thing I did notice is that this bike is heavily geared. It has a huge front chain ring, And this means it's great for riding around town. You're never gonna get spun out with the bike, but if you're riding uphill, you're probably gonna need more power assist to get up the hill with such a heavily geared bike. So that could be an issue if you live in a place like Seattle or San Francisco, somewhere where you're biking up steep hills. In terms of sizing, the bike comes in one size fits all, which we all know that one size does not fit all. So I would like it if there were maybe more frame sizes. I'm right in the middle of the frame size, recommended frame size for this bike. I'm 5'5", and it did feel like the reach was a little bit long for me, though I was mostly comfortable on the bike. You can adjust the position of the handlebars, and there's also a quick release seat post collar on the seat, so you can easily swap between two different riders in the same household of different heights riding the same bike. In addition to the drivetrain, the bike has Tektro mechanical disc brakes, and these work really well. They're pretty reliable. The only thing is if you are riding with heavy loads with a kid on the back, for instance, then I would want to upgrade to a bike with hydraulic disc brakes. But for the price and the ease of maintaining them, the mechanical disc brakes do a pretty good job. Other things worth mentioning are the tires. They have a reflective sidewall in them, which makes them have better visibility for riding around town. You've got fenders, which is really nice if you live in an area that's rainy or you plan on riding in wet conditions. You have mounts right here for a water bottle cage. The saddle is just okay. If you buy the bike and end up feeling like the saddle doesn't work, that's another thing that's easy and not too expensive to upgrade. The bike comes with a kickstand on it. It is mounted on the rear triangle, which makes it a little bit more sturdy than a kickstand that's underneath the bottom bracket. The only thing that I didn't like about this one is it's just one-sided rather than two-sided. Sometimes you'll see a two-sided kickstand with an e-bike, and since they're heavier, that can help with like loading and unloading stuff from your bike, especially if you had a child mounted on the back. One thing to be aware of with this bike is that right out of the box, it did require some work. My husband did it for me, and he's a really good mechanic, but he mentioned, that you have to install the front fender, you have to install the front wheel, and he also ended up having to tweak the brakes to get them working really well. So if you don't have any kind of mechanical ability, you might want to end up having this bike taken into a bike shop and having a mechanic help you set it up, because it's not perfectly set up straight out of the box. Overall, this is a really fun bike for biking to the farmer's market, going to your yoga class, biking to work. It's great around town commuter bike. It's about $1,000 more than the most entry-level e-bikes you'll find, and I would encourage you to spend the money to get a nicer bike like this. If you are going to be putting on a lot of miles on your bike, if you are going to be using this as a car replacement, I would urge you to spend a little bit more money to get features like hydraulic disc brakes, a mid-drive motor rather than a hub-drive motor, and that kind of thing. But unless you're going to be doing a ton of commuting on it, this is a perfect bike. It's really cute, and we would highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe to get more tips and tricks and reviews to help you have fun riding your bicycle.
Go for it when you're ready. Okay. Just ride past me.